Everybody, Ralph Havens here, autoimmuneanswers.com. And yesterday we had an amazing day in Bellingham. After working with clients, we went down and ran the all-comers track meets. And Ben had an amazing race. I won't divulge his time, but it was really fast. And you should have seen him beaming afterwards and talking all about it. And it was just a great day. And I just barely beat him. I had to like out sprint him in the mile. So really fun day. And when I was a kid, and then later as a teenager, and then a 20 something and 30 something, I ran a lot. And I loved running. I loved competing, but I really loved training. And one of the things that I noticed was I didn't win very many races. I mean, I won a few, but mostly I was, top 3, top 5, top 10, top 20. My best marathon, I was 20th place. But there was some Olympians in front of me and all sorts of cool stuff like that. But what I noticed was I rarely took the lead in the beginning of the race, never in the beginning of the race, and very rarely in the middle of the race. If I was going to take the lead, it was always at the end of the race. And one of the big reasons was if I took the lead, I got really uncomfortable. I mean, I got tight and I didn't feel smooth and I just felt awful. And if people were looking at me, it really tightened me up. But if I was tucked into a group of guys and, I felt really cool and I was one of the guys and I was one of the fast guys and I felt really smooth. And then at the end, if it came to a kick and I was still there, then it was fun to go for the win. But mostly I, was top 3, top 5, top 10, top 20. And that's how it went. And I noticed a pattern. It came up a little bit yesterday. The track is an unforgiving place and it's exposed. And by that, I mean, if you're running a running race out in the woods or on the trails or on the roads, there's a lot of people and you can kind of blend in and there's not a lot of spectators that see you every step of the way. But on the track, everybody can see the whole race. And so you're singled out. And so this was a pattern that I was running a long time in business and everything else. I was terrified to talk to doctors. The thought of it just terrified me like crazy. And I did it anyway. I got lots of training and consulting and learned how to do it and built a great business in San Diego. But it terrified me. And I did it anyway. But, however many times can you put yourself in a terrifying position and just work through it? You can, if your vision is big enough and you work hard enough and it means enough to you. But man, the distractions are so much more inviting. And these days we have a lot of distractions, Facebook and YouTube and just anything besides doing something that makes us uncomfortable. So you could work hard and try to just overcome your fears and stuff. But those distractions are hard to beat. And, it can show up in so many ways. It can show up like it did for me, and like a lot of guys, being afraid of talking to pretty girls, pretty women, and talking to influential guys if you're a business person, influential people. And so if you're a woman, who knows how it can show up as well too, of course, right? But basically, how do these things happen? And, of course, our upbringing and how we're raised has part of it. Maybe there's some innate thing in there too of not being wanting to be singled out. But then there's some people that just thrive on being singled out and looked at. And when I was just in a bunch of qigong and meditation out in the forest here. It's what I do every morning. And a bunch of coughing came up and a bunch of stuff in my lungs and a bunch of grief and sadness came out, stuff that I thought I had worked on. And my stepdad, I didn't really know my dad. My stepdad, man, nobody would say he was a good person. You know what I mean? Nobody would say that. I guess my mom would. But he had a lot of stuff that happened along the way of just judging people and judging us and abuse and stuff. And he smoked a lot. And then he had some injury at work, you know, firefighter thing, and became disabled, and just always blaming everybody for everything, and had a lot of lung stuff. And so I think as a kid, you want to be loved, right? And you want to be thought of like, look, you know, Papa, look, Mama, I'm a good person. I'm like you. I'm like you. And so it's easy to start to go down this road of emulating and modeling what you've been seeing, even if it's not effective, even if it's total devastation, even if it's a way to failure. There's a thing that happens, I think, an instinctual thing to keep us alive and to keep us loved and to keep us in the loop of the family. And that can be really hard to overcome, right? And so and you can do lots of talk therapy. And I've done all sorts of different things along the way to figure stuff out. But what I'm using now is 5,000 plus years old. And also some stuff that was taught to me with matrix energetics of fast ways to go and clear stuff. But I believe even that is like really ancient wisdom. And so you know, there's my little boy loves to be in the spotlight and loves to run, but he still has things that happen, you know, and affect him. And so no matter where you are, like if you're a parent and you have a kid that just hates to be singled out or has some kind of thing where just, you know, self-confidence or things going on, self-judgments, how do you shift that sort of thing? And, you know, while we can work on kids and we can do stuff to help them in all sorts of ways, you know, some of it is like, there's so many things to do these days to kids. That's a whole to help kids. And part of it is just not hurting them, you know, like the vaccines. If you really need to look, people should really look at that science and read the science for themselves. But that's causing a lot of problems. But you know, when you want to see your kid thrive, one thing that I found is working on yourself. And I had a client that had a wonderful success story. One of her kids that just a grown kid, but just totally turned around, and now they have an amazing relationship after what seemed like it would never happen, ever. And the way she did it was she worked on herself. She worked on herself and she kept showing up. And when I got the success story for this, I won't divulge the exact things, but it was like, that's what it was all about. And, you know, and she was working a lot of business stuff and a lot of health stuff, and all this stuff was improving and helping her business and her health and solving all sorts of stuff. But she longed for this connection with her kid, her grown kid. And now what her kid told her, it's like, wow, there it is. And so, but she didn't get her kid therapy. She didn't try to change her kid. She changed herself. And, you know, for ourselves, you know, we've got our parents and the way we were raised and the stuff that happened and the patterns that we're running around money and health and love and business and wanting to be out there, but not being too scared to be out there, or not making the business calls because it's easier to check Facebook or YouTube. And just thinking you need more discipline, but why don't you do it? But you just don't feel, you know, the imposter syndrome shows up, or you feel self-conscious, like you're not as good as the people you're contacting in business or whatever it is. There's a way to clear that, to really, really let it go, to transform it. And it's what I've been using so much with clients. There's so many ways to healing and love and forgiveness and all that kind of stuff. And so whatever challenges we're dealing with, I feel there's a real answer. And whatever you'd love to change in business or health or all that, if you're interested in going deep, but not within a talk therapy or like trying to figure it out, to figure out why you're messed up, if you feel like you're messed up. I'm not saying everybody's messed up, you know, but if you feel like you need to know what happened and I knew what happened. I knew, you know, you just look at anything related to my past and with my family, And you'd be like, oh, well, no wonder, Ralph. But just knowing that doesn't change it at all. Doesn't change it at all. So I'm not talking about trying to figure it out. And this ancient technology that we're using is not about that. But these things are in our structures. They're in our lungs, showing up as grief or sadness or despair, and in our hearts and longing for love, and in our livers, codependency and anger and self-hatred things in the back of the heart, and the pancreas, and deep issues around mortality, and the colon and self-worth, and the urogenital organs, you know, the uterus and the prostate, and deep, deep, deep sexual and deep connections to survival, and the deep structures inside the brain, the subcortical structures that have to do with pleasure and pain, and all that kind of stuff, the kidneys, fear and anxiety and depression. There's a way to go right to it. There's a few ways. And what I found is if you can go through it and really clear that, that's the key. And then you can have a result where your kid starts talking to you again, or tells you stuff about, you know, how much he or she loves you for the first time in many, many years. Or you're able to start talking to cute girls, or you're able to start making those business calls and actually enjoying it instead of having to like stress about it and then just find something else to distract yourself with, like Facebook. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, that's one aspect of healing that's so powerful on so many levels. And, you know, I do this with people one-on-one. And for something like that, like when I was going through this and I was in college and going to a hypnotherapist and trying to fix things, and it wasn't really working, I would have done anything to get to the root of my my stuff, my anxiety, my deep, deep self-hatred and anger and rage things that were inside me. It would have been priceless to fix it at that point. I would have found a way. And so if it's something that you're like, you just have to solve this, then there's a way out. And you can find this. I've made a lot of free trainings and videos and PDFs and books and stuff. And I'll just give you the links, ralphhavens.com/End Anxiety Forever. That's a big course for not a lot of money, a lot of sessions for not a lot of money. Really, really powerful. And then if you want to go further, there's ways to go further with that, because, you know, you can do this on your own. You totally can. It just might take a long time. And having somebody, if I hadn't had the coaching and the healing, it would, I don't know where I'd be right now. But if so, what I would recommend is, you know, go and get this free stuff and try it. And then let me know how it goes. So ralphhavens.com/End Anxiety Forever. There's lots of links to all sorts of stuff from there. And let me know how it's going out there for you, you know, solving all this kind of stuff. Let's get out there and live. Let's really live. All right, everybody. Talk to you later. We are heading into town and doing some fun stuff today.